This Secant tutorial will be involved in Pattern Browser. Pattern Browser can be used to edit or modify your optimized pattern set. While Secant will generate the most efficient patterns, it will do so obeying the rules that have been defined on the system by the user. There may be scenarios where the user knows that certain of these rules may be bent or broken in order to make more efficient use of the sheet material available. Once your patterns have been optimized, they will be displayed on the screen within the Pattern Browser, which contains two sections. It contains the section with the diagrams at the top, and it also contains a printed report section underneath. The contents of this printed report may be changed through the report menu. There are 4 pattern-based reports available and 4 overall reports. The pattern-based report, for example in pattern panels, will change as we step through each particular pattern, whereas the overall reports give information on the job as a whole. As you can see, we move through the pattern set using the previous and next buttons, and if this was a mixed material job, we would move through the materials in a similar fashion using the previous and next material buttons. Secant will allow you to make any modifications to the patterns which you wish, even if these violate rules such as third phase cutting or indeed overuse the sheet. It will, however, flag any of these errors if they do occur. The printed report will update automatically as you make the modifications to the patterns. The first thing which we can do with the system is a simple drag and drop of a part into a separate section of the pattern. Using the selection tool and a click, drag and drop, we'll move the part and Secant will automatically rearrange other pieces within the pattern to accommodate the part you've moved into its new position. As we mentioned before, this is permitted even if it violates certain rules on the system. Any violations are flagged with the yellow marker in the top left of the pattern. Clicking on this will tell us exactly which errors are present, and we can choose to either ignore these or modify the pattern to remove these errors. A simple undo and redo button is available to rapidly undo or redo your latest edits. Moving through the toolbar, we next have the Delete a Panel toolbar button. Clicking on this changes our icon to the deletion icon, and then simply clicking on any panel will remove that from this particular pattern. As we can see, the report beneath updates accordingly. We'll come back to the Add panel shortly. Moving across to the Copy. Copy will copy a panel down the strip, as shown. The difference between this and the Repeat button is that the Repeat repeats the panel across a strip. So for example, repeating panel F in this head strip results in the width of the head strip being doubled in order to accommodate 2 repeats of panel F. The final panel operation we have before we come back to add is the rotation. Rotating a panel rotates in place, bearing in mind this may result in a violation of a particular rule on the system, which again we can choose to either correct or ignore. Coming back to the Add panel or Insert panel. If we click on this, we can see it says we need to select a panel from the cutting list. So in order to do that, we need to bring up our cutting list if it's not already visible, and then click on the particular panel in the cutting list in which we wish to add into our pattern. Simply click to bring that panel into the pattern. Once again, other panels in the pattern will be rearranged to accommodate the new position, which may result in the violation of particular rules. As well as making modifications on a panel by panel basis, we have a series of tools that allow us to interact with strips as a whole. Secant patterns are made up of two types of strip: vertical strips, also known as head strips or short rips, and horizontal strips, known as rip strips. We can either delete strips as a whole using the delete strip function. We can add in rip strips or head strips. These require us to select a panel which will be used to incorporate the size of that strip, which we can then add panels into. Or we could add a head strip into the pattern in a similar fashion. Adding parts into the head strip as we wish. Strips may also be duplicated as a whole or rotated as a whole. As before, any violations in either controls or overuse of the sheet will be flagged in the top left-hand corner in the error icon. The final three strip functionalities are relating to the size of the strip and oversizing strips. Firstly, we'll just free some space up on this pattern, and we're going to look at resizing this top strip. If I select the resize icon and click on the strip, I can then enter a new strip width for this particular strip, and the strip will oversize to my required width. If we do not choose to lock this strip, any further operations made onto the strip will result in the default setting of the strip being shrunk around the contents. For example, if I move this piece to the beginning of the strip, it will then shrink back to the minimum possible size. If, however, I lock the strip size is maintained during any operations I make on it. We can change the stock which is currently used for a particular pattern through the pattern menu, change stock menu item, and we can select a different item of stock to apply to this particular pattern. Bearing in mind, as always, this may result in a violation of a rule or sheet size, which we can choose to ignore, or we can adjust our pattern accordingly. In order to obey the requirements of the new sheet. Also, through the pattern menu, we can change the repeat of the pattern, or we can in fact delete the pattern from the set. Further menu options are available under the panel submenu and the strip submenu. These are the same options as are available through the toolbar at the top. The final menu option not yet covered is the toggle waste offcut. If we select this, we can change any piece of waste into an offcut which will be returned to storage, and these will be flagged in the offcut report, which will be updated automatically as we make changes to the patterns. Any changes to the patterns which are made will be maintained on the system and will be reflected in any reports